All right, so welcome to our first video answer key of the year. So for question number one, they're asking us for the average rate of change. And anytime you think of average rate of change or hear that, this formula should pop into your mind. So all we have to do is figure out what is our x's and what are our y's. Okay, what's our the second coordinate, what's our first coordinate? So it says from the original, right? So we have from the original photo. So here is our original photo, and they want it to the fourth enlargement. So our fourth enlargement is right here. Okay. So we need to kind of go back now and label things. So we have this correct. So here's our x's. So x1, x2. And I'm going to call this right here. This is our y. So y1, and this is y2. Okay. So 36.6 is our y2. All right. So now on the same note, we're now just going to plug in. So our y2 is 36.6. I have to put that first. So I put that 36.6, and then I put a minus sign, and our y1 is 15. So I put 15 on the top. Okay. On the bottom for my x's, we have x2 minus x1. So our x2 is 4. So I'm going to put a 4 minus, and our x1 is 0. So I'm going to put a 0 there. Okay. And now this becomes a straight calculator question. So 36.6 minus 15 divided by 4 minus 0, which is 4. The final answer is going to be 5.4, which is answer choice 3. Okay. Question number two, the equation, da, da, da. So you can do this on the calculator. We'll get to that in a second, but I do want you to know how to do this by hand. So the first step is to get the radical by itself. That's already done. Second step is we are going to square both sides, and that's to get rid of this radical or the square root. So we're going to get x squared is equal to 3x plus 4, because the square root and the square cancel each other out. Okay. So now taking it from there, we're going to move everything over to one side. So we're going to do minus 3x minus 4. So over here, we're going to have x squared, because we also have to do minus 3x minus 4. So none of these are like terms. So you're going to leave it as x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals, and on the right hand side, right, 3x minus 3x cancels, and 4 minus 4 cancels. So we're going to have equal to 0. Okay. At this point right here, we are going to factor. We're going to see two numbers that add to give you negative 3 and that multiply to give you negative 4. So just as a heads up, again, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to be negative 4 and that add to be negative 3. So if I think of those two numbers, 4 and 1 multiply to give me 4, and they can also add or subtract to give me 3. So my numbers are 4 and 1. To make it negative when we multiply, one of them has to be negative. 4 minus 1 is positive 3, so I know that this 4 has to be negative. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So that's what goes into my bubbles. I'm going to have x minus 4 and x plus 1. And then now to get our solutions, all you have to do is switch both sides. So when you do that, you're going to get x is equal to 4, right? Because x minus 4 equals 0. Set it equal to 0. You're going to get x equals 4. And on this side right here, you're going to get x is equal to negative 1. All right. Now, when you check it and you plug it back into the original, you're going to see that 4 is the only one that works. And I'm going to prove that to you by doing it on my calculator. So let me just open my calculator up. So you should be doing this along with me. I'm going to go ahead and reset. Second plus 712 resets my calculator. I'm going to go over here, press to my y equals. I'm going to go right there. On the original, this is my original question. Let me just go ahead and erase this right here. So whatever is under the first, on the left side of the equal sign, we're going to put it under y1. Whatever's on the second side, we're going to put it under y2. So let me show you what I mean by that. So the first side is just going to have an x on it, and then after the equal sign is a square root. So second x squared, and then you put 3x plus 4. And now when you hit graph, you're going to see it's telling us that 4, negative 1 are solutions. So let's see. That's our blue graph, which is x, and that's our red graph, which is square root of 3x plus 4. And we can see that there's only one solution, which is right here at 4. If you cannot see that, there are a couple of ways to tell. So at negative 1, if I go to negative 1, Our y1 and our y2 are different, so that is not a solution, but across from 4, we have 4, 4. These two are the same, so that means that 4 is the only solution. Another way to do it is second calc or second trace, option number 5, and you're going to go over to the point, so it's crossing or meeting right there, the red line and the blue line, and you just hit enter, enter, enter. And when you do that, you get also x equals 4. Okay, so that verifies that. All right, this next one right here, you need to think of this as two separate terms. So the 4 is going to be part of the answer. So automatically 1 and 2 are out. And then over here, we have x to the 1/2. So you're going to write x is our base. The number on the top is our exponent. The number on the bottom is our root. So it's telling us that the root is 2. So that's a square root. And our exponent is 1, so that can be even left out. So that's the same thing as 4 square root of x, which is answer choice number 3. All right, moving along. This one right here is another average rate of change problem. Okay, so as soon as I see that, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 should come flying to mind. And now we are looking for what our interval is, and it says from 3 to 9. So I'm going to go ahead and get my calculator. I'm in my highlighter, highlight 3, highlight 9. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and label it. So if I label this, I'm going to call this x1 and x2 and y1 and y2. And now it's just a matter of plugging numbers in. So y2 is 3.41. So 3.41 minus y1 is 6.26, 6.26. And on the bottom, I have x2, which is 9 minus 3. And when I plug that into the calculator, I'm going to get negative 0.473. Repeated. Negative 0.47. Now, a couple of people had issues with this one, but let me just go ahead and show this to you real quick. So you go alpha y equals in the calculator. Alpha y equals, there we go. And that little menu pops up and you hit option number 1. That gives you the fraction bar. So 3.41 minus 6.26. And on the bottom, you're going to have 9 minus 3. So 9 minus 3. And when you hit enter, you get negative 0.475. So negative 0.475 is our answer. Negative. And it's negative because, as you can see, these numbers are going down. Okay. As these numbers go up, the y's go down. So that's why it's negative. All right, moving right along. This one right here, first thing we want to do is get the radical by itself. So we want to add 5, add 5. You should be pausing the video if I'm going too fast. I'll tell you that in class, but just to make sure. So we're going to is equal to 5. And then, let me see something real quick. On your actual test, just as a heads up, on your test, I'm just looking at this right now, it is plus 5. On your test, it's plus 5. So that means that if it's plus 5, then to move it over to the other side, you're going to do minus 5. Minus 5. So this is equal to negative 5. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. The next thing you want to do is you want to get rid of the radical by squaring both sides. Square both sides. When you do this in the calculator, this is the most common mistake that I saw. You need to make sure that there are parentheses around the negative 5 and that the negative is inside the parentheses. And if you do that, you'll see that the correct answer is 25 on the right-hand side. The square root and the square cancel each other out. So you're just left with x plus 1 minus 1 from both sides. Doo-doot, doo-doot, and you get x is equal to 24. There is a problem, though. When you go ahead and plug it back into the original, like if I go, so if I check it, this is my check. If I check it, you'll see something happens. So x we just figured out is 24. So we're going to put that in. Square root of 24 plus 1. And then this is plus 5. And we want to see if that gives us 0. Okay, so watch. 24 plus 1 is 25. The square root of 25 plus 5, we want to see if that equals 0. Does it equal 0? Square root of 25 is 5. 5 plus 5 does not equal 0, right? 5 plus 5 is 10. 10 does not equal 0. So that means that our answer does not work. So the correct answer for this question is no solution. Okay, so you could actually write out no solution, or you could put this little symbol right here. Okay. Question number 6. I gave you a similar problem like this before you started. When you have a power to a power, you multiply them. So this is m to the 6th times 2/3. So you're multiplying those two. You can use this in the calculator. If you want to know how to do this by hand, you put a 1 underneath and you multiply it with top and bottom. So this becomes m, 6 times 2 is 12, over 1 times 3 is 3. We can simplify that. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So m to the 4th is our correct answer for number 6. This one right here, they're giving us the A's, the B's, and the C's, so all you have to do is plug it in. So what we want to do is, this says whatever B is, you do the opposite. So B right now is 4, so you put -4. The opposite of 4 is -4. And then the negative boy had a choice. He had a choice, plus or minus, to go to a radical party. Okay, so we put a square root, and then the boy was a square, so you put the b in parentheses squared, and again b is 4, minus 4 times a times c. This right here was the most common mistake that a lot of people made, doing that part. But I'm going to show you what I mean by that. What should go in here? 4 times, this is a, right? A is 2, so you put a 2 here. C is -3, so you put a -3 here. Okay, and the party was all over at 2 a.m., so that's 2 times 2, which is simple. On the bottom, we have 4. Okay, on the top, we have a -4 plus or minus the square root of. Okay, now in class, I told you whatever is under the radical, like this whole thing, without the radical, plug it into the calculator and you will see that you get 40. You could have left your answer like that. That was completely fine and sufficient. If you chose to not leave it like that, you could have broken it down. Okay, you could have said, hey, 40 is the same thing as this 10 times 4, so radical 4 times radical 10. And then you could have looked at it and said, hey, the square root of 4 is equal to 2. So you could have brought it down as -4 plus or minus. This is 2 radical 10, 2 radical 10, all over 4. If you didn't want to leave it like that, you could have used the Band-Aid method. So Band-Aid method says, okay, these two share a denominator of 4 and these two share a denominator of 4. So how could you have rewritten it, right? -4 divided by 4 is -1, plus or minus 2 over 4 is a half, so there's a 2 on the bottom, and this radical 10 is on the top. So you could have left it like this. You could have left your answer like this. You could have left your answer like this. There are a couple of different ways, or you could have solved it and gotten what the actual value is, right? So if you could have taken this -4 plus radical 40 divided by 4, plugged into the calculator, hit enter, and done the same thing for the negative, that would have given you 2 decimal values. Okay. Last question is, most of us like the FOIL box method. So here we have an x plus 2, so x plus 2. And over here we have an x and a plus 3. And what we're doing is we are multiplying these right here. So we're going to do x times x, and that gives us x squared. So you write that down. And then we have x times 2, which gives us 2x. And then here you're going to get multiply x times 3, which is 3x. And then in this box, you're going to do 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay. So don't leave your answer like that. You need to simplify it. And you need to remember or realize that this diagonal right here has like terms that can be combined. So when you combine those, 3x plus 2x is going to give you a 5x. Okay. The x squared chills by itself, so you bring that down, plus, and this 6 is also by itself. So this right here is the full and complete answer for the last one. Great job, guys and girls.